you ever innocently commented on something that seemed innocuous on social media for it to absolutely blow up and go insane? This is what I did about 10 days ago, and it's something that turned into almost an accidental social experiment, or a really good opportunity to take a look at people's attitudes and choices and how that impacts them. I'll tell you a little bit about what I said, just for context. So I did comment on a political post, and normally I avoid politics in public like the plague. But somebody posted about our new Prime Minister, and at this point I said, he's been in the job 7 days, why don't we just give him a chance and see what he's capable of? And it started off with some rational responses, and then gradually the responses just went crazier and crazier and ruder and more insulting. And the volume of names I was called was really quite fascinating. But that's not really the point today. The thing that got me thinking about that whole episode, though, was I was intrigued, I was fascinating. I have to say I was quite disappointed by how quickly some people choose the negative. They choose argument. They choose to be immediately disappointed. They choose to instantly look forward and assume the worst about absolutely everything. And what became clear to me is that the more negative people were, you could really sense that this negativity pervades throughout their entire life. Now, as a business coach, what has this got to do with me or business? Well, I'm going to tell you that because actually this is hugely relevant to business, because we are constantly faced with things in business that are outside of our control. The economy has been fluctuating wildly for a few years now, really. You know, we had huge things to deal with COVID, Brexit's had an impact. There are constantly things that are hitting us from every direction, which are absolutely out of our control. But the most important thing we can do in business is recognise that whatever goes on, we can't control the situation, but we do have control and choice over the way that we respond. So in any situation, we can look for possibilities. We can look for the areas that we can control, that we can influence, that are within our sphere of relevance. Because these are the things that are directly important to us. Those are the things that impact our decisions and that impact our results. But it's just so easy to get sucked into this attitude of responding and of feeling out of control and to some degree of playing the victim. But when you go into that space of immediately saying that everything is everybody else's fault, it's the economy, it's the world, it's the politicians, it's the global crisis, it's the cost of living crisis, if your focus is always that the problems are external, then essentially what you say to yourself is, I don't have any decision-making capacity here. I can't influence anything. And that very much is a victim mentality because you're powerless at that point. You have absolutely given away all the power in your business. Where when you turn that back around and you say, what is it I can control? What is it I can do? What is the attitude that I want to take here? What is it that's going to really help me to move forwards? Rather than wallowing, shouting, getting into arguments, falling into despair, catastrophizing, because all of that is just a spiral. So that's the first thing I really want you to think about today, is that you do have the power to choose your response, and you have the power to choose what to focus on and where to put your energy. But the second thing to also bear in mind is that other people's baggage and other people's attitude isn't your responsibility. And again, you have the choice about whether you allow that to influence and impact you. Do you allow that to affect your mood, your attitude, your energy levels? Or do you compartmentalize that, you pop that in a box and you say, that's their baggage and that's their issue? Because I can tell you, some of the names that I got called on that social media post were quite remarkable. And they did get increasingly ruder and ruder. And perhaps a few years ago, I would have been really insulted by that. But these are people, I don't know who they are. I don't even know whether they're real people or they're bots. But they're people who are not relevant to me. They're not relevant to my business. They've got an issue. And I am not going to accept that issue. I'm not going to take the weight of that issue. I'd love to help them change that and to take a more positive attitude, but that's something they need to do for themselves. What I am not going to let them do is to steal my energy and my attitude and my positivity. So I also want to really leave you with a question today. I want you to think about when you're faced with a challenge in your business, what is your instinctive response? Does that serve you? And is it something that you'd like to work at changing over time? So do you focus automatically on opportunity, or do you jump to see the obstacles? Are you a person that sees problems, or do you actively look for the possibilities? Because this will enormously change the future of your business. Your mindset, your attitude, your positivity, your energy levels, and your desire to get things done rather than to wallow will make an enormous difference to your results. If you want to know more about this and if you need some help with it, contact me at tailory.co.uk because I would love to help you with this.